Islam. And that's why Islam has become the biggest challenge for the West in order for them to be able to get these resources. It used to be just a clash of resources. Now it's who is the one who's going to hold those resources for us. And they see the Muslim Ummah increasingly wanting to refer to Islam as a basis for this. So this connection to Iman in our life is very, very fundamental to us. And the challenge for the West is obvious. Is to make sure we don't go in that direction. Okay. Session 3. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. Of course you can.
Ideas, whether they're convinced of something or whether it's a action. And if they're not convinced of something, they won't. So whenever it has a whole new path, before he became a Muslim, he was so furious when he found out his sister and his brother-in-law had converted to Islam. And he was on the way there to kill them. He was so furious and angry. And when he got there, he heard them reciting the Quran. So in their thought, what should change in their thoughts, and therefore his rest of his actions throughout his life have changed. Would they explain a bit more?
There's two things in Jazakallah. One is, what made somebody take a step back from their position and start to question what they believe? And you find the life of mankind, it tends to require a huge agitation, a huge shock to their system. Good example. If you go to somewhere like Dubai, or somewhere like Kuwait, maybe 10 years ago, and you say, are people very much willing to change in these places? And the answer is no. And the reason is why? They're very comfortable. They have everything that they need. They feel no agitation in their life. They have no need to think about why they would need to change. They've got everything that they want. If you go to places where it's very war-torn, lots of problems, economic, social problems, you find people are desperate for change. And the analogy is very much similar to, you speak to a lot of people, and there was family relatives of my wife, and my wife was working very hard to try to convince them just to wear the Islamic dress. And it was like an auntie of us, and I said, no, Jazakallah khair, Allah Ghafur Rahim, inshallah, one day. And she had a car accident. And the very next day, she put it on. So when we are agitated, when something happens to our life which challenges us, which disrupts our norm, we start to think. And the analogy one brother gave goes, when you wake up in the morning and you find a small scratch on your arm, what do? You ignore it. But if you wake up in the morning and you get up and your arm is still lying on the bed, you are deeply agitated, you need to do something. So the first thing is, Umar ibn al-Khattab, he had a huge agitation. And what was the agitation? That he hit his sister, Fatima. That she started to bleed from her face. That caused him an agitation. Because remember, tribal societies, the whole issue of honor and the whole issue of the tribal bond was a very big issue for them. So when he hit it, that was an agitation for him. And then he said, show me what you have got. So that was the agitation which provoked him in the same way. Abu Darda, what was his agitation? Was when Abdullah ibn Rawaha smashed his idol. That agitated him completely. It's like going into your son's bedroom and taking his Nintendo Wii and throwing it out of the window. Dad! A volcano would erupt. So for Umar ibn al-Khattab, hitting his sister caused a huge agitation for him. He had to, what have I done? And then the second issue became, what did he start to do? He took the Surah Taha, and when he started to read it, it began to make sense to him. He started to comprehend that these words are not ordinary words. That he was blinded by fury. That's why he had never opened his heart and mind to listen to the words clearly. But now he has listened to the words clearly. They resounded in him very, very strongly and made him obviously reshape his life. And what they attached was not to a branch of his life. It went to the core of his belief. And he had no choice but to give up what he believed in. And it's happened to me, a colleague of mine when I was at university. He was a Hindu, we had lots of these discussions, lots of debate about Islam. And he finally said, okay, I'm going to become a Muslim. And I was very happy. Alhamdulillah, his name was Vinay. I said, Alhamdulillah, do the Shahada. And after he did the Shahada, the first thing he said to me goes, I hate Islam. I was like, he goes, I only believe in it because I can't disprove it. And I know it's the truth. But it doesn't mean I love it. So he went to the core of what he believed and realized what he believed was not true. So he could not reject it. But his heart, at his heart, had really accepted the fact that it would require a fundamental change in his life. Whereas for Umar ibn al-Khattab, he went to the core, destroyed his core. And he realized he had no choice but to accept and embrace it. And by the time he met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he declared the Shahada. And the famous narration when Umar ibn al-Khattab, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I love you more than anything. And I love you more than anyone except that which sits between these two sides. Meaning, I love you more than everyone except I love myself more. Yeah? And then Rasulullah, he then said, La yu'min ahadukum, none of you will be a believer until he loves me more than he loves himself and his family. And Umar, Ya Rasulullah, I love you more than everything. And then he replied, Al-an, meaning you have it now. Meaning you have the fruit of Iman now. So you're right, this is a matter which went deep. That's why here's a famous funny story when Umar al-Khattab, he was sitting there, he had a date in his hand, and he was crying, and then he started to laugh. And the Sahaba were thinking, and he lost his marbles slightly, what's going on? And he asked, Ya Umar, what are you doing? We see you sitting there, crying, and then we see you laughing. He goes, yes, I was reflecting during the days of Jahiliyyah, that we used to consider this day to be a god. And I was crying because I can't believe how ignorant we were. So why were you laughing? Because when we became hungry, we used to eat our God. So you see, this is the nature of the person. It goes right down to the foundation. So I think these are the two things that we need to talk about people. That what makes people change is when they have an agitation. And you find that it's very difficult to move people when they don't have an agitation. When I was in America, and I was staying in Chicago, I was staying in these suburbs. It's unbelievable. These suburbs, one to another, you see these huge houses. These people believe there's nothing happening in the world. They live a perfect life. It's unbelievable. You wake up, their lawns are cut, they're walking their dog, and you're thinking, and they are completely oblivious to the world around them. Completely oblivious. You say to them, you need to change. They'll say to you what? Why do I need to change? Life is perfect for me. Why do I need to move? So you've got to have an agitation. And the second, you've got to go to the fundamental. That's exactly what happened to Umar ibn al-Khattab. In the Quran, the first ayah we have is فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. This in Surah Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, know that there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. And Imam Qurtubi, he said this ayah means three things in his tafsir, in his explanation. Firstly, that you must know that Allah gave you the knowledge about La ilaha illallah. That Allah has given you the knowledge about La ilaha illallah. And this point is very, very beautiful. This itself proves why there is a God. And this itself proves the foundation of Islam. Why this alone? The very, very first child. If you take anyone's child, you put them in a room, you show them something, and you ask them what it is, what would they say? They will have no idea. And why will they not have any idea? Because what do they need? Sorry? They need information. So the very first baby, where did he get this information from? Where did he get this information that is a stone, or that is a tree, or that is water, or fire will burn? Where did he get that information from? The very first baby. from reality, how can you? Because look to the reality, look at all the babies that we see around us, our own children, our nephews, our nieces, and we look to them and we say,